See, it's a very important topic. Constitutional government is a very important topic. Already UPSC have asked a question way back in 2014 regarding the concept about constitutional government. So before going to understand what is a constitutional government, try to understand a very important concept, what is called as constitutionalism. Constitutionalism. Constitutionalism is an ism, it's an ideology or it's a philosophy which believes that the constitution is supreme. So in constitutionalism, the most important thing what you need to understand is that the constitution is supreme. The constitution have clearly said the constitutional provisions, all the organs of the government, whether it is legislature, executive or judiciary, have to act or function as per the provisions of the constitution. Every government, every organs of the government have to function as per the provisions of the constitution. So nobody can violate the provisions of the constitution, and also how to exercise this power is also mentioned in the constitution. It clearly said that it shall not, regarding the authority and power is clearly mentioned in the constitution, and it has limited its power. I am talking about the government. So just be very clear. Constitutionalism is nothing but a philosophy which have restricted the power of the government. It has restricted in the sense that it has said that all the organs of the government have to function as per the provisions of the constitution, so that the government power and authority is limited by the constitution itself. It means that no organ of the government can't deviate against the provisions of the constitution. So basically, in a constitutional government, in constitutionalism or in constitutional government, it is nothing but a limited government. Limited government in the sense that the power is limited by the provisions of the constitution. We can see in our constitution itself. After this Keshavananda Bharati case, that the Supreme Court have evolved a very important feature, what is called as basic structure. So that is one of the restrictions for the government or for the legislature. Similarly, the fundamental rights is a restriction for the government. So there are a lot of provisions in the constitution which limits the power of the government. So in that way, we can say that constitutional government is a limited government, or in other way, the constitutional government tries to ensure a fair and a democratic government, where it always supports the individual liberty in the way that the government will not restrict the rights given by the constitution to the citizens. So the core concept about constitutional government is that in constitutional government, constitutionalism is highly visible, or only in those country where constitution is supreme. In other way, try to understand that when we say that constitution is supreme, we have studied earlier that constitution, wherever, which all constitution is a written constitution, we say that constitution is in that country's constitution is supreme. In those countries where constitution is supreme, all the forms of the government have to act as per the provisions of the government. For example, the legislature, all the laws or acts passed by the legislature have to be inconsistent with the constitution. If it is not inconsistent with the constitution, then the very important organ of the government, which is the custodian of the constitution, that is judiciary, will say that this law or act is invalid. Similarly, acts, decisions, orders, rules made by the executive, they also have to be inconsistent, or they have to be as per the provisions of the constitution. If it is not, then the Supreme Court or the High Court or our judiciary, higher judiciary, have the power to declare this actions or decision or law, the rules made by the executive as void or null or invalid. So if somebody asks you what is constitutional government is, it's nothing but a government which function as per the provisions of the government, as per the provisions of the constitution. A government which function as per the provisions of the constitution. Its power are limited by the provisions of the constitution. So normally a democratic government is, we can say that always a democratic government can function as a constitutional government. So in a democracy, it is not otherwise. Don't get confused. Don't say that all democratic government can be a constitutional government, but all constitutional government will normally be a democratic government. Take the case of India, where we have a constitution where our country is, in our country constitution is supreme. So we have a constitutional government. The constitution have curtailed the power of mainly the legislature and executive, because it has said that how to exercise its power as per the provisions of the constitution. So from the examination point of view, be very clear, constitutional government is nothing but a government which function as per the provisions of the constitution. It gives maximum liberty to the individual or to the citizen in the form of fundamental rights, and it restricts the power of the state in relation to it, if it's in relation to exercising the freedom given to the citizen. So this is a very simple concept, but very important. If a question comes, what do you mean by constitutionalism? It's a philosophy which curtails the powers of the government. In which manner it has to act as per the provisions of the government. If somebody asks you what is constitutional government, it is nothing but a government which function as per the provisions of the constitution, and it can't deviate against the provisions of the constitution. So basically constitutional government restricts or limits the power of the government. So that's about the concept constitutional government. Now we'll see the question being asked in 2014. Consider the following statement. A constitutional government is one which, it's a two statement question, which places effective restriction on individual liberty in the interest of state authority. No. It is vice versa. It is, so first statement is wrong. The constitutional government never places restriction on individual liberty. Rather, it promotes individual liberty. Rather, it restricts the state authority. That's the second statement. The second statement says that, so first statement is wrong. It's not the concept of constitutional government. Second statement says that a constitutional government is one which places effective restriction on the authority of the state in the interest of individual liberty. So that statement is correct, because the constitutional government have played effective restrictions on the authority of the state in the interest of individual liberty. That's we had seen it. So when we will discuss fundamental rights, you will understand how this constitutional government is visible in our fundamental rights. In fundamental rights, lot of freedoms have been given to Indian citizen in the form of right to freedom, where in which the state power, the state authority have been restricted by the constitution itself. So just go and read the material after today's session. Thank you.